All right, guys, I hope your day's going great. We're going to do a little bit of reading here while I'm eating my breakfast. Yeah, and coffee. This is what we're going to do. The second story that we're supposed to read is called Clean Start. It's actually the last story in the packet that you have. So jump toward the end of the reading stuff, and that's where Clean Start is. In this relatable story about a clever boy who creates a robot to secretly do his chores around the house and the problems this causes, students will understand how the main character changes from the beginning of the story to the end. Hi, buddy. And then it says, these are some things that we often skip when we're reading a story, all the things that we need to think and read about. Right here it says, think and read, how a character changes. As you read, think about how Max's plans and attitude change in the story. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start reading this story. One of the things you can do, students and parents, what I did was I wrote down the words that are underlined in here. Some of these words. So some of these words are words that you're going to need to definitely try to use your context clues to figure them out. So this is something, parents, this is something you can have the children do as you're reading through stories too. Start questioning them about some of the words that may be a little bit difficult for you, okay? So let's go ahead and get started reading Clean Start, okay? Max Welling had been building his robot, Walter, in secret for months. Max was able to build Walter because his father ran a repair shop. His dad worked on old computers, TVs, toasters, and clocks. The family's basement at home was full of extra odds and ends. Max would rummage through them and sneak things into his room. A piece here, a part there. Finally, Walter, the robot, was ready for action. So I'm going to pause here because we have the word rummage. That's one of the first words. So I want you to really think about what that word rummage could mean. In other words, think of a synonym for rummage, because we want to come up with the meaning of that word, even though it doesn't tell us. We can use the words around it, the context clues, to try to think of what that would mean if we were to replace that word with something else. Okay, we're going to continue. Max had finished Walter just in time. His father needed to sell the repair shop soon. It was struggling. People were buying new things, not fixing broken ones. His father was taking college classes at night so that he'd be able to find new work. Meanwhile, his mom had started a full-time job. With both of his parents so busy, Max had to help out more at home. He didn't like that idea, but he had a plan. Walter could help. So right here it says, pause and think, how did Max get the parts to build Walter? So if you really think about it, could have showed you how. I mean, if you really think about it, it kind of mentioned it. And there's a nice little picture. Parents, this is something, and I know students are listening too right now, but this is something that's very helpful when we're reading stories like this to try to get pictures in our head. However, sometimes they offer up pictures. So this is a time that they offer up pictures for us to try to help us out with our comprehension. Okay. A new routine. In Max's new routine, he had to do chores after school. Then he'd walk 2 blocks to visit his great-grandmother, Matilda. She was 92 and lived in a home with other older people. They were well cared for there. One of his parents would pick him up around dinner time. On that first day, Max took the bus home from school. He had to put dirty dishes in the dishwasher, wipe countertops, and sweep the floor. This was exactly what Walter was built for. Max got Walter out of his bedroom closet, where the robot was hidden. He turned him on. Walter's eyes blinked on, glowing blue. "How may I help you?" Walter asked. Max told him to do the chores. "Get back in the closet by 5 o'clock, he said. So right here, it says pause and think. What did Max want Walter to do for him? Okay. A puzzle to solve. Max left Walter hard at work. Then he went to Grandma Matilda's. She introduced him to a man who had just moved into the home. Mr. Gravis. "This is my great-grandson Max," Grandma Matilda said. Mr. Gravis sat in the chair, staring ahead with a mad face. He wouldn't even look at Max. Poor Mr. Gravis has come out of his room only once, Grandma Matilda told Max as they walked away. He asked me to play chess and won it in 5 minutes. Then he said, "What's the use?" and went back into his room. Guess I'm not challenging enough. Once again, another word that's underlined for us. He has no family. His friends have died. I wish I knew how to make him feel better. Max and Grandma Matilda stopped by the parakeet cage. They got ice cream sandwiches. Then they worked on a crossword puzzle. As Max filled in the little squares, he thought about Mr. Gravis. In a way, Mr. Gravis was also like a puzzle that needed to be solved. When Max and his parents got home, his mother was shocked. "Wow, the kitchen is sparkling," she said. "Proud of you, son," his father said. "It was nothing," Max said, which was true. Walter had done all the work. Max felt a little guilty. His parents were pleased. Things were going as planned. But why didn't he feel happier? What's up, buddy?
What are you doing?
I'm reading a book out loud. You want to watch?
Yes.
You want to listen? Okay. I'm going to continue, okay? So right here it says pause and think. What are 2 reasons Mr. Gravis might not be happy? I don't know. If I was in Mr. Gravis' situation, I might not be happy either. Okay, here's a nice little picture of Grandma Matilda. Walter at work. The next day, when Max got home from school, his parents had a new list of chores. Bless you. Bless you. For the next day, when Max got home from school, his parents had a new list of chores waiting for him. Max felt bad when he got Walter out of the closet. He felt like he was lying to his parents. But he had spent months building Walter, and he didn't want to let him go to waste. He told Walter what his chores were and told him to get back in the closet by 5. Max went to visit Grandma Matilda. As usual, she beat Max at chess. She was the best player Max knew. Mr. Gravis would really have to be an expert at chess to have beaten Grandma Matilda in just minutes. "Is Mr. Gravis doing any better?" Max asked as they put the chess game away. Grandma Matilda shook her head. Now it says pause and think. Why did Max want to keep using Walter? I know why. Why would you want to keep using Walter, the robot? All mixed up. When Max and his parents got home that night, they were in for a surprise. The shelves had been dusted, but the board games were all over the floor. Oopsie. Arlo? No. The shelves had been dusted, but the board games were all over the floor. A plant had been knocked over, too. "What happened, Max?" his father asked.
Oh, Daddy,
"What happened, Max?" his father asked. Max had to think fast. "I was organizing the games, and then I knocked over the plant. But I didn't want to be late to go see Grandma Matilda. I'm so sorry. Really, I am. I will pick everything up here in a minute. I promise." Max ran into his room before his parents could say anything. He threw open his closet door. Walter's wires were showing. His eyes blinked on and off. "How help you I may," Walter said loudly. He must have gotten an electric shock that made him all mixed up. Max turned Walter off. The robot's eyes dimmed and didn't come back on. Max spent the rest of the night cleaning up the mess. Then he opened his closet door and stared at Walter. He knew he should probably take Walter apart. He should sneak the parts back into the basement. It wasn't right to lie to his parents. Max shouldn't have forced Walter to do things Max should have been doing himself. Still, the thought of taking him apart made Max sad. He felt closer to Walter. That's when he noticed Walter was holding something in his hand. A chess piece. Walter must have picked it up earlier when he was trying to organize the games, before he went crazy. Max took the piece from Walter. Then Max had an idea. What do you think Max's idea was? He took Walter out and began to work on him. The perfect partner. Now this is a good time right now for you 4th graders to do some inferencing. What do you think he's going to do with Walter? What do you think Max's idea is? And this next title is called The Perfect Partner. Okay, good. A month later, Max was done keeping secrets. He showed Walter to his parents. He told them he used Walter to do his chores, but he had a new plan for his robot. He He'd been working on him nonstop. Today, Walter was ready for his new job. After finishing his chores, Max carried Walter to Grandma Matilda's. She asked Mr. Gravis to come out of his room. My grandson has the perfect chess partner for you, she told him. In the game room, Walter sat waiting at a table. His blue eyes were lit up. He had a chessboard set up in front of him. I'll give it a try, Mr. Gravis grumbled. He sat down across from Walter. The first game between Mr. Gravis and Walter lasted more than 90 minutes. Other people in the home had come to watch. Mr. Gravis seemed to enjoy the attention, and when Walter won, Mr. Gravis smiled. No one in the home had seen him smile until now. They were still playing another game when Max's parents came to get him. Good job, Walter, Max said. He left Walter with his new friend, Mr. Gravis. Max turned around to look at Walter one more time. He wasn't sure, but he could have sworn Walter winked one eye at him. Okay, so that is the end of the story. And it said pause and think. Remember I asked you to infer. Was your inference correct? What was Walter's new job? Sounds like he was going to be a busy guy too. So this is the assignment that they're asking you to do. I shouldn't say they. That we are asking you to do. It says continue the learning journey. Invent your own robot. Create a drawing in your notebook of your own robot. Make sure to draw arrows pointing to its special features. What will you program your robot to do? Play basketball, mow the lawn, give you a ride to the ice cream store. You tell us. All right, so here is my robot that I created. My robot is for harvesting greens in our earth garden or our beds out there. So we have tracks to make it through the path right here. We have our beds of greens, and we have two arms that come down and have cutters on them, and then behind them are little baskets that hold the greens. And then up here, the top of the robot's head has hoses that come out that wash the greens for us. Okay, so this is just an example of something that you can do for your robot creation. All right, guys.